Hello everyone, welcome to week 5. In this particular week, we will be talking about emotions, culture and inclusive design. So let's get started with emotions in user experience design. So the key learning outcomes of this particular lecture will be understanding the neuroscientific foundations of emotion and its role in decision making and user adoption. We will apply multiple emotion theories like basic emotions, dimensional models, appraisal theory to interface design. And we will see how design emotionally resonate interfaces and apply this emotional granularity tools to measure nuanced user responses in user research. So, why emotions matter in user experience? So, emotion is central to any user experience. It has been observed that 95% of the purchase decisions are subconscious, 3x more likely to recommend with positive experience. If you are designing something with positive experience, then 3 times more people will be recommending it. The time to form a first impression whether somebody wants to buy something or not extremely small. It is 0.05 seconds and it is majorly based on the colors of that particular product, which creates this first visual impression. So neuroscience research shows emotions drive decision making, shapes memory and determines adoption. 95% of purchasing decisions are subconscious, driven by emotions. Users are 3x more likely to recommend products with positive emotional experiences. First impression forms in just 0.05 seconds before even the content is read. So, the foundational theories of emotion. So, the first theory is from 1972, which says that there are 6 universal emotions: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust, and are biologically innate and recognized across cultures. Each has distinct facial expressions and physiological responses. The dimensional model, which comes from 1980. So, emotions are described along 2 dimensions: valence, which is the pleasant, unpleasant, and the arousal, which is activated and deactivated. So, it maps all emotions on these axes. So, if I take happiness, happiness is pleasant, and then I can take sorrow, which is on the unpleasant spectrum. Now, just the presence of the emotion is not enough. It needs to be either active or it needs to be deactive. So, that's why the second scale. So, all emotions can be mapped using these 2 parameters. Now comes the appraisal theory from 1991. So, emotions result from cognitive appraisals of events relative to personal goals. 2 people react differently to the same interface based on their goals and expectations. So, let's say for example, I am used to a kind of smartphone which has a very responsive screen. So, I am introduced to a smartphone which has higher responsiveness than what I have been used to till date. I will be very happy because it meets my expectations. It is able to achieve my goals much faster. But if I am presented with a new smartphone which has lesser responsible screen, my goals will not be fulfilled as per my expectations and I will feel frustrated with that interface. Similarly, if the another person is exposed to this slower in terms of interactivity, the screen, but they have just moved on from much more slower one, their experience will be very different from mine. Then the last one, which is about affective design from 2004. So, there are 3 levels of emotions: visceral, which is my immediate reaction to something; behavioral, the ease of use; and the reflective, the long term memory. So, design must engage all 3 for meaningful emotional response. So, say for example, I see this particular pen on the table. So, my visceral will be the immediate reaction. When I look at this pen, what is my immediate reaction to this pen? So, if it had a beautiful metallic touch to it, I will have a different emotional reaction to it as compared to what my emotional reaction is right now to this matte finish black pen. Now, I will pick up this particular pen and I will start using this pen. Now, on the basis of this ease of use, my behavioral emotions will start developing. Now, let's say I use this particular pen for sketching people when they come for an invited dinner party to my house. and that results into some kind of interesting dialogue between us. So slowly it is forming a reflective memory for me, wherein I can engage all those memories of sketching people, all the nice time that I had over dinner with them, and all the conversations which I was able to engage with it. So every product has this capability that they can engage us in all the three levels. Now some products are more useful in engaging at certain level, and they do not form, let's say, long term memory, so the reflective layer. So when I am trying to do this design for emotions, I will have to say how they can be triggered. So they can be triggered using color. I am talking about interfaces. So these can be interfaces of physical objects, like the interface of a football. They can also be the interface of a digital screen. So the emotional triggers can be created using color, typography, the imagery that you are using, and the micro interactions which is happening. Micro interactions are basically small smooth animations, so they do not form the part of the main product, but they increase the satisfaction. So let's say you press the like button and there is a small animation which happens as a result of it. That is a micro interaction. So it is not that that interaction was very necessary for making you succeed in that action, but because of the presence of that interaction, you really feel that emotion of liking something or loving something. So it improves your user experience because of the emotional connect that you are able to make as a result of the micro interaction. So let's look at these through some examples. So the Coca-Cola red. Now depending on the screen that you are on, you might see the same red as Coca-Cola, or you might see a different kind of red. However, the red over here uses the same RGB number which Coca-Cola uses. So the signature red color of Coca-Cola is in use since the 1886, and it is applied consistently across every can, truck and storefront worldwide. So this red triggers this feeling of urgency, excitement, appetite and impulse, and a measurable rise in pulse rate on the exposure of that particular color, and that's why the brand decided to use this particular color. Now similarly, Tiffany and Company, they have trademarked this Robin's Egg Blue is the name of the color that is there. The box itself is recognizable because it's even when opened because of this special color. So what it signals, this particular color signals luxury, exclusivity and aspiration. So the color alone raises perceived value by 35 to 40%. Now coming to typography. So let's look at the newspaper, the New York Times. They use serif type signals. Serif type signals are something which have this thing over here. So I have S and then I will add some kind of serif. Now serif can be in different kind of formats. So the New York Times uses serif type signals. They do use different kinds of fonts, but the majority of the font has this strong serif signal. What it signals is authority, institutional weight and permanence. Readers say it feels more credible when they read through these fonts. Similarly, there is another channel, the Medium. They use clean sans serif font. So you can see that there is no serif on these letters. So just compare the M of Medium versus the M of Times New Roman. So they use clean sans serif, which they are trying to signal as a sign of modernity, accessibility and a writer first voice. It feels personal and not editorial. So because both the channels want to communicate something different in terms of emotions, and both the emotions are attractive for different kinds of people and for different kinds of content that we want to consume. So the font becomes the way in which this emotion is communicated. Now comes to imagery. So let's compare Apple versus Airbnb. If you look at Apple's web page, you will see that it looks very clinical. So there is a clinical product page. I call it clinical because there is a single object, lot of white space, dramatic lighting, and it tries to completely revert the product that it is showcasing to you, and it tries to put the product as a art form. The imagery also something like this kind of a text which is saying Titan so strong, so light. So these are all dummy texts, you might not see the same over there. Then comes Airbnb. So you can look, there is a huge difference. These are lived in spaces, the hosts have shot them, there is warm lighting, there are human details added to it. It talks about belongingness. So users imagine themselves being there, and because they think that, oh, I will be somewhere closer to this one, so let me select this one as the option. So the photographs, the imagery over here helps you in making your decision, creates the emotion that the applications are trying to create. Now coming to micro interactions. So you might have observed, if you have not, then you can go and experience. So on Instagram there is this heart taps. So as soon as you tap the heart, it scales up, bounces and bursts into particles. All is done in 400 milliseconds. So it is a micro interaction. It's like a small celebration because you loved something, so you did a small celebration around it. Now you can also explore MailChimp, what they do. So in MailChimp, as soon as you send a particular mail campaign, so the Freddy's high five plus chime turns a campaign send into an accomplishment and not task, and it says, high fives, your campaign is on its way, successfully sent 12,842 subscribers. So it makes you feel like you achieved something rather than the fact that you completed a task. And that creates the emotional engagement with the person who is performing it, and it also motivates them to perform that task more and more. So now coming to how do we measure emotions when we are trying to do user research. So there are many methods. There are these self-report methods. So there are these tools called SAM and DES. You can look up these tools in these links. They are subjective measurement tools. They try to capture users' perception of feelings. So you can deliver these tools to your users and try to assess what their perception or what their perception of their feeling is from a particular activity. However, there are certain problems. There is articulation gap, and there are also recall biases depending on what method you are using. You can also do physiological measurement, wherein you measure the heart rate, the galvanic skin response, and do the EEG. Now these are very objective, because if there is an emotional arousal, if there is a cognitive load, your physiological parameters can clearly express them in terms of numbers. However, they are also context dependent. Your heart rate can increase even if when you feel very happy and even when you feel very angry. And there are also individual differences. If I become very happy, my heart rate might go from 50 to 60, but for someone else it might go from 50 to 70. Someone might also start at 60 and go to 90. Then comes facial coding, which is again measurement of the behavior. What I try to see is micro expressions, emotional balance. And challenges over here are privacy, cultural variation, and are also skill dependent. Then comes eye tracking. Eye tracking is very interesting. It gives behavioral data, and when you are navigating through something, it can help to identify your attention patterns, which part of the screen you are paying more attention, for how long you are paying more attention, where your attention is totally not going. It can also tell you if cognitive load is spiking, because then people try to look away. However, the challenges are it requires equipment which is costly, and there are again individual differences over here too. Then comes behavioral tracking, where again we are trying to do behavior measurement. Here I will try to capture whether something is getting completed when people are trying to do something, whether there is hesitation, where there is task abandonment happening. The challenges are it is limited to the observable actions, and the context matters over here too. So in order to cater to these particular challenges, you can also use this emotional granularity card, which has been designed considering the needs of designers. So what do designers need? So let's say somebody says, oh, I like this design, I think this is a good design. And somebody might say, I don't like it, I think this is a very bad design. But what do you understand from good and bad? So something might be good because the person, when they were trying to use it, they felt inspired, they felt relieved, they felt amused or confident, or they thought that it is bad because they are frustrated, overwhelmed, confused or bored. So what people need to give us, so what the users need to give us, the designers, the design researchers, is this emotional granularity, so that I can design it for positive emotions. But I know, okay, the positive emotion that I over here want to create is inspired and amused, and not something else like happiness and so on. So this emotional granularity helps us in creating this differentiation. It is the ability to make fine-grained distinctions between similar emotions rather than lumping them into broad categories like good or bad. So in UX research, the same word can hide very different design problems and very different solutions. So let's say when I said that the design is good, so it implies different design strengths. So lead with vision, reduce friction, show progress, add delight. So all of these can be done over there. But I need to check what it connects to. So if I do a design wherein I am going with this philosophy of lead with vision, I am trying to inspire people. If I am trying to reduce friction, then I am trying to relieve them of something. Now each one of them is different and is a different kind of design. So that's where the importance of these emotional granularity card. So you can be using them both for research purposes as well as for design purposes. So the emotional granularity cards are designed around 25 positive emotions. They are grouped into these categories. So the first category is the empathy category, and it has 3 different emotions: sympathy, kindness and respect. So sympathy is what you feel with somebody when you feel bad for their loss. Kindness when you feel being generous and caring to somebody. Respect when you value someone or something. So all of them are empathy, but they are different kinds of empathy, and recognizing which one you want to use. So say for example, if you are designing a portal which is asking donation for child health benefit, then maybe they would want to do design for something which is centered around sympathy or kindness. Whereas if you are trying to create the similar kind of a donation platform for, let's say, the army, you might want to design it with the emotion of respect for the army. The next category is enjoyment. Here I have euphoria, joy and amusement. So euphoria is the intense joy and excitement. Joy is bright, happy contentment. Amusement is finding humor and fun. So an amusement park, I find amusement over there. There is humor and there is fun. I find joy when I feel that what I was supposed to achieve is achieved. So let's say I am sitting in a cafe and it is a nice peaceful environment and it is giving this feeling of happiness, contentment. So I feel joy over there. Euphoria, when I am supposed to feel intense joy and excitement. So like I attend concert of my favorite band, and then over there the way they are playing one music piece to the next music piece makes me feel euphoria, intense joy and excitement. Then comes assurance. There are 3 levels: courage, bravery in the face of challenge, pride, satisfaction in achievement, and confidence, trust in oneself and their abilities. So if I am trying to design a banking application, I have to design it in a manner that I feel at every point of time confidence that I am not doing anything wrong, I am doing the right thing, I am transferring the money to the right place where it is supposed to be transferred. However, if I am trying to design a challenge where somebody is supposed to scale up mountain, let's say, I have to design it around courage because there is bravery in the face of a challenge. Then comes pride, when I am supposed to feel satisfaction in an approach. So when I design a trophy, I can use pride as a emotion because the person who receives the trophy, they need to feel that satisfaction in achieving the same. Then comes affection. In affection, I have love, admiration and dreaminess. Love is when I deeply care and connect with somebody. So if you look at ads of dairy milk chocolate, they are designed around the emotion of love, where they are trying to say that you love somebody, you care about somebody, and it is a special occasion for them, and that's why you are gifting them this chocolate hamper. admiration, when you have respect with a certain warmth. So let's say we have certain kind of admiration for our sports people. So when they are trying to promote a particular sports or a particular brand, we are looking at that product with admiration, respect with the warmth that we associate with that sports person. Dreaminess, it is gentle and romantic longing. So let's say all kinds of vacation packages that are sold to you by different companies like Make My Trip and so on, they are trying to put you into this context of dreaminess, where you are given all these beautiful pictures of activities that you can do, all the context that you can put in, so that they can drive your emotional attachment and you will take up a particular holiday or a package. The next one is about optimism. Here I have two: hope, which is positive expectation for the future, and anticipation, looking forward with excitement. So in hope, I know that something is going to come and I am hopeful that it is coming in the future. In anticipation, I am looking forward to something with excitement because I know that most likely it is coming. So I know somebody has sent me a gift because my birthday is coming. So there is anticipation, when is my gift going to come. Whereas hope is when I am hoping that okay, if this happens, I will be very happy about it. So there is positive expectations for the future. So if you look at insurance companies, they are trying to show you hope. So even in the event of adverse situation which happened to you, there is a hope that you will not suffer as badly as you could have without this insurance policy that you have bought. Now coming to interest. There is inspiration, enchantment and fascination. So inspiration is when you are being mentally uplifted by something. So let's say I want to create my first page on Notion and I have just logged into Notion. So if you look at the website, you will see that they have filled up certain columns which tells you if you have to create your own sheet, what can be filled in over there. This gives you the inspiration, being mentally uplifted that okay, if I type like this, the whole thing will look like this, it will give me this kind of a utility, rather than giving you blank pages where it says type heading, type subheading. Then comes enchantment, where there is delight in wonder. So let's say you go for a magical show or you go for a museum, they try to bring in this factor of enchantment, or you go to a planetarium, there is enchantment, the delight in wonder. Then comes fascination, where your attention is captivated. So let's say all these TV series, they are designed in a manner that at the end of the series they will create a fascination which will captivate your attention and you will be longing for the next episode, or you will keep on going for binge watching. The next one is aspiration. Here I have 3 different points: lust, desire and worship. In lust, I have a passionate attraction. So you can see all these deodorant ads, they try to exploit this particular emotion. In desire, you have a strong want or longing to get something. And in worship, there is reverence and adoration. So let's say whenever I have a particular personality whom I worship, they will try to design certain programs in a manner that because I worship them, so I will follow them. So let's say during COVID-19, when people were not following the rules that they were supposed to follow, Amitabh Bachchan's voice was recorded and it was sent across to people to tell them what they should do. Now people, a lot of Indian population, they see Amitabh Bachchan as a person whom with reverence and adoration. So when he is saying in his voice, that has a huge impact on people and the likelihood of people listening carefully and following it. Now coming to desire, there is a strong want or longing for something. Let's say I want to become a very fashionable person, so everybody in my community should think that I am the most fashionable person. So there is this desire in me to put in my image as that, and then I will be designing things around it so that I can fulfill this desire. So let's say I want to create an Instagram page which tells everybody that yes, I know everything latest about fashion. Then comes animation. Again we have 2 over here: surprise, which is about pleasantly taken aback and energetic, full of vigor and enthusiasm. When I am trying to use energetic, let's say Boost had this tagline, Boost is the secret of my energy. So they try to show sports people and people who are drinking Boost having all sorts of energy driven activities that they are capable of doing. Now coming to surprise. So let's say whenever you have a scratch card which has something in it, they make you scratch the card. Why? Because they could have just given you that offer without you having to scratch the card, because when you are scratching the card there is an element of surprise. You want to be pleasantly taken back when there is a reward over there. So to build that, the scratching activity is there. Then comes gratification. It has three again: satisfaction, relief and relaxation. So in satisfaction there is a fulfillment and contentment. So you did something, so you performed in your exam, now the results have come out and you are satisfied with your performance. Relief is release from the stress. So I just finished my exams, the results are not out, but I finished my exam, so there was stress and now there is relief because that stress is gone. Relaxation, it is about calm and ease when I am relaxed. So let's say you want to advertise for a beauty salon which also has services for body massages and facial, then you will see all the imagery designed around relaxation where they are trying to show calm and ease. If I have to advertise for my coaching school, I advertise it around satisfaction and contentment. So I will put the photographs of all the people who have scored very high and their satisfied faces over there in that poster to encourage more people to join my coaching class. I will use certain kind of relief. So let's say I am having a cricket match being broadcasted, and after every over I will have some advertisement. You will notice that the pattern in most of those advertisements is about trying to say that, oh, now we are relieved. So if the over had something which scored a lot of runs or a wicket of an opponent team was taken, then you will get an ad which tries to show relief, like release from stress that the viewers were experiencing, and the advertisement is trying to exploit the same emotions to connect that, like how that catch or how that six made you feel relieved. Same, if you consume my product you will feel the same. So we can use this positive emotional granularity card to do this particular kind of research and design. So we will discuss more about this in our next lecture. See you then.